Mark Zuckerberg admitted recently that Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden lapse story ahead of the 2020 election. He says we throttled it back. He says that actually he didn't really say that in the interview. You and I talked about this.
Yeah.
If you look at the Rogan interview, I think they've taken, and I agree with what you and I had talked about earlier, it's almost like they're adding some words to this whole thing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And there's a lot that's real with this story. There's a lot that's unreal. First and foremost, let's talk about the big thing. He goes on Joe Rogan, and Zuckerberg clearly says, and we actually do have the clip.
Mm-hmm.
So Zuckerberg says, I think the FBI may have reached out to some people. There's so many vague words in there. And then, of course, Rogan asked point blank, did they tell you to censor the Hunter Biden story? And he said point blank, no. No, they didn't. But they still did make the decision to throttle that particular story. He admits that freely.
They didn't kill it. They throttled it back. They said, look, we got, there's an edge of a warning here. Somebody is saying that the Russians are coming again, and the Russians are going to put all this propaganda out there. Now, here's what's developing to me. I don't know whether you're following this. I think we talked about it earlier. This Timothy Thibault. Now, I think this is a big part of the story. The Hill reported that he was the guy that was in charge of the Hunter Biden investigation. And he was the guy that made the decisions. Do we go forward? Do we do this? Do we follow the investigation? What do we do? He was escorted out of the FBI building a couple of weeks ago. Okay, now he had been on suspension before then for investigating him to say, did you really do what the media is saying, some media is saying that you did, that you interfered with social media so you could cover up the Hunter Biden story? What is your take?
You had Republican Senator Chuck Grassley is basically the one who lobbed all these allegations against Thibault, and they did investigate, suspended while investigating. Not suspended, I guess, because there was definite wrongdoing, but saying, because you're being investigated for these allegations, we need you to step aside. And then, of course, he quits, retires, differing stories everywhere about why he actually left.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so he's gone now. This guy who was running it, he obviously didn't kill the investigation because it was still happening, but I guess the question is, was there damage done? Did you intentionally sabotage anything? Which is a legit question.
Take the election out of it, okay?
Yeah.
Take the Trump election and Hunter Biden, and people say, well, if we'd have known the story, we wouldn't have voted for Biden. First of all, I don't think any of this ties up directly to Biden.
Right.
You and I talked about this. You pointed out that most of this took 2017, 2018.
Right, from August 2017 to October of 2018 is when these deals happened.
So let's assume that Hunter Biden is the dirtbag that he is. He is a total, utter dirtbag. No question about it. But how does that tie up to the president? And I don't think nobody's come forward and said, yeah, this is where it's very clear. What the big problem here is the FBI. The FBI has been so tarnished. I mean, not just from this, but for 4 or 5 stories before this, they've been tarnished. I don't think they're going to be tarnished by the raid that took place down at Mar-a-Lago. I just don't think that's going to be a problem for them. But right now, they know that they are having to fight this image problem. People are saying this is starting to look like J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. That's when the Republicans were in charge of saying to the FBI, go investigate this person, go after this person's tax issues, go invest. The Republicans were driving the train. The FBI was politically a machine for the GOP. Now the question is, has the FBI become a machine for the Democrats? To me, it kills the FBI if this comes out, if this continues to unfold the way it seems to be unfolding. What's your take?
Which could be why Thibault, retired. Maybe it wasn't a voluntary decision. Maybe it was, you need to get out of here. We've got to maintain this reputation. We've got to make sure everything is on the level. We clearly have a lot of other things going on as well. And if there is any kind of blemish on this investigation, it's going to put blemishes on everything else we're doing. So maybe they forced him out. Again, we don't know. We're not inside there. But For him to abruptly say, okay, I'm officially retiring right now, you're handling this massive investigation, it's bad optics to say the least.
Yeah, it's bad optics. And you know what happened when the GOP was involved with J. Edgar Hoover, and Hoover was a weapon. That's all he was. He was a little weapon that they would send out against their political foes. Now, and the Democrats moved during the church hearings and all that process. They moved to start cutting back the funds of the FBI. I predict the same thing's going to happen here. There's already cries, defund the FBI. I don't believe that's going to happen, but I think they're going to have a hard time getting big funding.
Well, you know, and I do think when we talk about this Hunter Biden story, because, you know, you mentioned the guy being a scumbag, and that's based on all the photos and everything we have seen off the laptop. But when it comes right down to actual criminal activity here, we're still lacking a lot of evidence. You know, he did some weird things in those pictures, 100%. But right now, you've looked at it, I've looked at it. We're struggling to put anything that looks unethical, yes. Criminal, not seeing it yet.
It's the appearance, what they would say, the appearance of impropriety. But I mean, the guy is a dirtbag. I mean, but he's a dirtbag that I don't believe at this point has committed any criminal offense that ties back to his dad.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of the story. I mean, I don't care.
Right.
You know, the guy's a dirtbag. There are plenty of dirtbags around.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story, the New York Post.
Yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have. If something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But I mean, basically, a lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper-political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement, if they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.